Ever feel like your brain is a maze with no exit? We totally get it. That's why this video is sponsored by BetterHelp, the online therapy platform that doesn't just understand your mental health quirks, but actually embraces them. Here's the deal. Getting support for your mental health doesn't need to come with a permission slip from society. It's your brain, your rules. BetterHelp is here to offer therapy solutions that fit your unique needs. Prefer a phone call? They've got you. Video chat your thing? No problem. Only comfortable with messaging? They've got you covered there too. BetterHelp is basically making therapy as accessible as your Wi-Fi connection. They provide access to professional therapists who are trained to listen without judging and give you advice that actually helps. So if you think you might benefit from therapy, and let's be real, who doesn't? Join the 4 million plus people who are already using BetterHelp to navigate this thing called life. Head over to betterhelp.com/CinemaSins or pick CinemaSins at sign up to snag a special discount off your first month of therapy. Because let's face it, we all need a little help sometimes, even if it's just to figure out why we keep watching movies we love to hate. One minute and 45 seconds of code names that are never explained, red static titling that makes my eyes hurt, and some lady Irish lullabying me to sleep. I suspect it's all subtle brainwashing, so I'll be too delirious to wonder where Alec Baldwin went. Having the family name more visible on the mailbox than the actual address. I could easily just sin the homebreaker of a bloodbath that is Monopoly, but I do feel obligated to also point out all the ways this board was obviously put together by someone who has never played Monopoly. First up, you can't have 2 hotels on one property. Next, you can't have a hotel unless all the properties in that set have 4 houses on them. A rule which is being flouted here, 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 and here. Moving on, this board is using a bunch of made-up places that clearly don't exist, like Old Kent Road, Whitechapel, and Trafalgar Square. Speaking of Old Kent Road, this property appears to be with the banker. But how can that be when there's clearly a hotel? And why is there a hotel as well as a house on Old Kent Road? And finally, yes, they could be playing some f***ed up house rules, but if people are allowed to play by any old rules willy-nilly, what's the point of living in a capitalist democracy?
8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
This kid rolls an 8, but you can clearly hear 9-player token taps. Explain that in your house rules, Ryans. Also, scene does not contain a Gates McFadden.
And the enormous changes resulting from these events.
I guess there's just something about Harrison Ford that makes movies feel like he needs to give lectures or speeches to justify any future ass-kickings. Marching. Marching with a baton. Marching with a drum. Excitement. Movie scene set in London contains someone trying to get a palace guard to move cliché.
He's a professional soldier. It's his job not to be distracted.
Well, kinda, but his real job is to stand guard and make sure nobody tries to kill the queen. The reason you think his job is to not be distracted is because assholes like you keep trying to distract him.
Stay awake, lads. Here they come.
Go! These poor bastards. There's no way they could have planned for a sudden Jack Ryan to accidentally himself into foiling their plan. Just think about how unlikely this is. He doesn't even live in this country, and he just left a presentation. A few minutes either way, and this goes off without a hitch.
Stop! Army! Drop it!
Yay! Backup has arrived, just in time to do nothing, of course. Just imagine if these guys had got here in time, this movie would have to take a completely different direction, and maybe we'd have a worthy sequel to The Hunt for Red October. Is this asshole seriously doing the super suspicious, I'm innocent, nothing to see here, whistle in a car and to himself?
Oh, Jesus, Jack. What were you thinking of?
I'm guessing Jack was thinking that he needed to come up with a way for the movie's villain to have a revenge boner for him.
And while no group has yet claimed credit, there is among many here speculation already of Irish Republican Army involvement.
Newest position.
I can't help if you don't talk to me, you know.
I know for a fact that this is the 33,672nd time this tactic has been used in a movie by officers of the law, and it has not resulted in the suspect saying anything. Not even once.
I'd tear your heart out and serve it up to you with chips.
Threatening a prisoner with standard British cuisine. Pubs that are designed to provide head trauma to any customer above 5'4". Adultery.
That's me holding my temper, Jimmy boy.
And that's Kevin delivering a line to Charlie that Charlie would not be aware of since it was spoken earlier.
Talk to him and hold your temper.
In an exchange Charlie wasn't present for. Oh, and also he's dead.
So's this, darling.
We can't show you the proof because YouTube's policy on showing anything vaguely sexual was rejected by the Pope for being too strict. But this blanket was nowhere near this position throughout all the canoodling and appears to have voluntarily moved itself purely to cover this gentleman's 3-leaf clover. Most of this newspaper makes sense until you get to the second paragraph, which suddenly shifts gears into how Britain's former Prime Minister is making a speech about increasing ties to whatever the EC is, and try as I might, I just can't see what the f that has to do with the trial of an attempted assassin alluded to by the headline.
May I introduce his lordship?
Movie had a chance to have Captain Hastings and Inspector Craddock in the same scene together, but selected the wrong fox for the role of Lord Holmes. And you have now made all of the diehard Agatha Christie fans a little sadder, Patriot Games. Are you happy now?
Her Majesty's decided to invest your husband, KCVO, Knight Commander of the Victorian Order.
Which is some bullshit because Americans aren't eligible for the KCVO and can only receive honorary knighthoods, which I'm sure this lord would have specified. Apparently some sort of pesky rebellion in the 1770s disqualified Americans on the grounds of being tea-spilling, tax-dodging, ungrateful meanies.
Are you still, Dr. Ryan, in the paid service of the Central Intelligence Agency?
I don't see how this has anything to do with what has happened up to this point, and seems only to serve the purpose of letting the audience know that Jack is no longer with the CIA, which matters dick to anyone watching this movie. And he'll be back in the CIA just a few scenes later, so this serves no story purpose either. Also, Jack gets a grilling from the prosecution here, which is quite fun, but ultimately ends up going nowhere because this movie is fucking allergic to entertainment.
Wow, you guys have really grown.
So we know that the fish died, which means that the housekeeper had to replace them, but how the f did they manage to find a goldfish on short notice with these specific markings? Also, what the f does this add to a movie about the IRA?
I don't have any say in this, do I?
Sure you do, honey. This is a family. Everybody's got a say.
But my say is after the fact.
Sally would be excellent at pregnancy sense. Oh, goody, another newspaper. This headline and a giant picture of Jack Ryan might make you think the below article is about his heroism. And while it starts out with Lord Holmes, the text is actually reporting on the infamous death of Robert Maxwell while on his private yacht.
And when would you want this by, madam?
Soon.
Did she put a secret, important message for this motherfucker on a goddamn post-it note in the middle of a large book? Why are these note-passing scenarios always so convoluted? Where's the movie where this scene involves the person never even seeing the note? Because if this is the way you're going about your business, you know that shit happens on the regular. Premature chuckleration.
But the present fact is that we're very near now the darkest hole in all of Great Britain.
That's Isle of Whitest. I feel like the characters in movies have seen enough movies that by 1992 they should know better than to run a prison transport near a drawbridge or train track that might require them to stop the vehicle for any amount of time.
Your guns!
We are unarmed.
They're unarmed. On a goddamn prison transport?
Something's come up.
Yeah, this timing is a colossal dick move. I get that there's some urgency, but couldn't you at least have called ahead? Like, what if they arrived a few minutes later, missed them, and Jack and his family got killed while vacationing?
Marty, want to excuse us a few minutes?
Sounds like Marty is one of those characters who just tags along so he can be excused to accentuate dramatic moments and then reintroduced for exposition. Also, to be clear, we recast Alec Baldwin and Gates McFadden's characters from Hunt, but decided to keep James Earl Jones as Admiral Greer. Look, I love James Earl Jones, but this short circuits my poor brain almost as much as Judi Dench being M for Daniel Craig. Movie has time for this.
You're asking me if I want to come back.
And he'll say no here, but force his way back at a few scenes later. So why are we wasting time with nonsense like this? This movie's structure is overly complicated and really doesn't need to be.
Sean Miller escaped.
Well, what does that mean?
They thought I might be concerned. I'm not. The IRA's not stupid. They're not going to follow me all the way over here.
Yeah, but there's also that whole thing where it's possible that it wasn't the IRA.
They admit to it.
Thank you.
That's the policy. They'll proudly say they did it.
Ryan's logic is a big f*** you to the poor person who worked hard on that lazy news position.
At least you always had your own toilet bowl, eh, Sean?
This guy calls him Sean, but Sean had long hair, and this man has short hair, and therefore I do not recognize him anymore.
But what Ryan done can't be undone. So you should stop thinking about him.
Hard agree. So how does Sean and 3 of your people end up taking a revenge-fueled detour to fucking Annapolis a few scenes from now? Last I checked, that wasn't exactly on the way from England to North Africa, which is where you're headed. Later we find out that they managed to weave Sean's revenge boner into their overall plan, but it sure would have been nice to see that conversation instead of that fucking Queen's Guard nonsense.
Sir, I think it might be best if we limit your appointments for the time being.
I will not have my itinerary dictated to me by terrorists.
Agreed, my lord. One must concede that it is far better to stick to your precious itinerary and say f*** it to the lives of your drivers and any pedestrians near you. It is their fault for being poor, after all.
Whoever this traitor is, I better pray to God I never find him.
This hits a bit harder when you have the knowledge that Watkins here will end up being the treacherous inside source. Of course, that would also require watching this movie more than once, and there are only so many times a day I can afford to be put to sleep. In case you confused it with the U.S. Barber Education Academy in Laredo, Texas. This 30-second scene exists to show us that Dr. Ryan, who has been addressed as Dr. Ryan several times already, is a doctor. Maybe it's to specify that she's a medical doctor and not a doctor of pacing, which is what this movie actually needs.
Why'd you do it? It was rage.
Listen, I am never going to sin an appearance of Samuel L. Jackson, but this is yet another scene whose existence I'm struggling to reconcile. All we learn is that Jack saved the day in London because he was angry that innocent people were being shot. And here I was thinking he did it for the lulz.
Kinda cute, isn't she?
Aww, yeah. This revving Jeep will end up being one of the bad guys, so what's with the revving? Why is she drawing attention to herself? Also, turns out that won't matter because Jack does that movie thing where he ignores all of his instincts until the last possible second. Deus Ex Machina. This red shirt looks down the side of the truck, doesn't see Jack, and apparently assumes that the only possible explanation is that Jack is in possession of a genie that teleported him to safety, and that there's no possible way he might have doubled back around the other side of the truck.
Come on! Come on!
Impressive! It looks like part of Sean's revenge plan was to recruit Jack's car and convince it to fail at a crucial moment. Fortunately for Jack, they had a last-second change of heart. Must have been that recent oil change.
Yes, this is Dr. Ryan. I'd like the results on the Thompson boy's retinal scan.
Talking about patient information on a speakerphone with your daughter in the car. Dr. Ryan clearly doesn't give a shit about HIPAA violations. This large van being able to swerve in and out of rush hour traffic this easily.
The police station.
Kathy, just get off the highway right now.
It would be just as easy and probably the same amount of words to explain to Kathy what's going on instead of making her play the guessing game, but Jack is clearly a terrible former CIA agent. Kathy, Molly, and an unborn baby survived this.
They're gone!
One thing this movie does well is to show us how desperate and blinded by revenge Sean is after Jack killed his brother. So it sucks that said fury is so easily satisfied by this huge misplaced assumption.
Mr. Ryan, I'd like to share with you our deep regret about...
The Ford and the Furious! Also, how the was this guy allowed anywhere near the hospital, let alone within finger-wagging distance of Ryan? He has all the ties to the IRA, and somehow he's doing fucking news interviews outside the hospital containing victims of a suspected IRA hit. Rumor has it the CIA classified these files, but allowed for a special clause that allows you to spread all of their contents across the floor, but only if you really want people to know you're busy. In case you confused it with that other IRA hotspot, Belfast, Portugal, the Brits.
What are you coming to, Jeff?
All signs point to him coming to something that will throw this case wide open, but he will instead decide to be all dramatic with a side order of cryptic and just leave the room.
Where are you going? I'm just gonna go throw some water on my face.
Saying this instead of, I'm just going to the bathroom. Even if you're going to throw water on your face, you sound less crazy saying the other thing. Where the f did this guy come from? Jack just looked down the hallway and there was no one there. Jack's about to have an epiphany and we need to break that shit down. He goes into the wrong bathroom and bumps into a lady who triggers a flashback of the shit that went down in London. Uncertain where his brain is going, he follows the woman. And then bam, sudden hair flick. And it's this random shit that leads him to remember that there was a woman with flicky hair present at the attack on Lord Holmes. And that gender-based fluke, ladies and gentlemen, is what the rest of the movie hinges on, and that is some clear and present bullshit.
Jimmy O'Regan checked into a hotel with a woman with long hair. Long, red hair.
Red hair that just happens to be, checks notes, that's right, a fucking wig! His big breakthrough is that these IRA guys have all been seen with the same woman with long hair. Okay, that's a stretch, but either way, why in the name of Rapunzel's rouge roots is Annette using the same fucking wig all the time? If she's trying to hide her identity, why pick such an identifiable wig? And why use it more than once? At a certain point, the disguise just becomes you.
I saw his wife and daughter die.
You did not.
Americans hold their breath every time a little girl falls down a pipe in the backyard.
I'm beginning to think the world, or at least Northern Ireland, might have a not entirely accurate perspective of American life. What child-sized pipes does she think we all have in our backyards?
The Brits are tearing apart Belfast for the IRA, and their American money are denying the hit so loud. It only makes them look more guilty.
The war is raging, and when it's over, we'll be the only ones left standing.
So the grand plan of the not but kind of IRA is to destabilize the actual IRA by framing them for a series of assassinations in America, which will disrupt some kind of flow of American money to them. And why? so that while Britain attacks a financially compromised IRA, these guys will be left to do whatever it is they want to do in Ireland. The problem is that the plan only works if the British don't decide to come after your people once they're done with the IRA. And the British aren't exactly famous for staying in Britain. Apparently, Harrison Ford feels like the best way to show that his character loves his wife deeply is to pull her up the stairs by the arm as if she's an unwilling participant in this walk to the front door.
How's the family, Ryan?
Do you know it is rarely, if ever, suspenseful? Antagonists calling protagonists on the phone and threatening them. And yet it happens in 99.9% of thrillers.
I don't give a damn what they've done, but the day that I sell out my countrymen will be the day that I put a bullet through my own head.
So, OG Dumbledore would rather kill himself than give up the location of two terrorists he's trying like hell to distance the IRA from, who I might add caused a little girl to lose her fucking spleen, but only until he has a random change of heart in a day or two? So why is this scene?
Can you enhance that? Sharpen it up?
Boob and enhance cliche.
Are you sure this is the same woman?
Of course he isn't. I'm honestly amazed he even bothered to drag the poor Admiral down here to compare this blurry-ass picture of a woman's chest to a picture of the back of a woman's head.
The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play.
Harrison Ford is not reading me a bedtime story in this scene.
You are an analyst. Analyze that.
Mentioning someone else's sequel that also wasn't as good as the first film doesn't make this one any better.
You tell O'Neill that you're looking for a girl. He gives you the pictures of a girl. He obliges you to get you off his back, and you believe him?
I didn't tell him I was looking for a girl, Marty.
Then why the f*** didn't you leave with that information, Jack? This movie is 67% conversations that should have ended before they started. Also, it is wild how much gender reveals play into this movie, and anyone who already knows how this movie ends will back me up. Convenient bad wiring beginning to smoke so Cooley can find the camera is convenient.
You've seen it, haven't they?
So have they got a camera in every rare bookstore in England? We know that Patty gave Ryan the photo of Annette at the rare book convention, but it didn't specify which store she's using, right? I can understand them having a few under surveillance, but how did they just so happen to be staked out at the right one?
He gave me the hat and says, "Here you are, this is for you, my dear."
He gave this lady his hat, but that doesn't explain how lucky he was that she was also wearing a very similar coat to him. Why are they giving up? Why doesn't one of them keep searching the station while the other one gets on the train just in case Cools gets on board? You know, like exactly what happened.
What are you doing up? Go back to bed.
I wanted to be there when she wakes up.
Well, then you should probably have slept at the hospital, Kathy.
4, 6 altogether. Should be the same security when Holmes flies to Washington.
Should be? Yeah, I hear all the best intelligence research and planning is dependent on convenient should-bes that are based on blind hope. It's how Britain won the war, don't you know?
Sounds like a little pink.
Sunburn. New arrival.
I don't know what Ryan and this other guy are looking at, but I'm calling bullshit that they can distinguish any level of a sunburn from this picture. Why is Cooley's face in color when the rest of this photo is in black and white? I mean, it literally looks like they cut out a color picture of Cooley's head and just stuck it on this picture. I mean, it's so obviously bad that I feel like I'm missing something. Zoom in on that shit. His neck doesn't even fit under the shirt.
Tell me one thing in life that is absolutely for certain.
Well, death and taxes? Pretty sure someone important said that. The certainty that the voice of James Earl Jones will bring gravitas to even the vaguest cliche. That 2024's Death on the Nile should be tried for war crimes against cinema. That no matter how much M. Night disappoints my soul, I'll still be there opening night for his next movie. Look, I can go all day. The existence of fruit?
My daughter's love.
Dude, I just gave you a half dozen options, and you pick your own one that can be disproved the first time you ground her?
What I need to hear from you is your best guess.
But his best guess isn't that different from his best guess yesterday, right? We've just added a bald person with sunburn into the mix.
I can fire a gun. Sorry, Dennis.
Oh, it's like that time Donald Pleasance lost his eyesight in The Great Escape and was told that he couldn't come on the escape anymore. Except Dennis is missing a James Garner to vouch for him. Well, that and Richard Attenborough doesn't brutally shoot Donald Pleasance's character to death, but they are both bald.
Enlarge primary target.
Enlarging.
This scene should be super suspenseful and exciting, but like just about every other scene in this movie, it is neither. It is a franchise that makes typing on a keyboard suspenseful as in a later installment, but in Patriot games, everything feels about as exciting as, well, typing on a keyboard.
It's over.
If we could only be so lucky. Unfortunately, these Patriot games still have 20 more minutes to go. If you reduced all the shots of Jack Ryan brooding by 5 seconds, this movie would be 12 minutes long, and you just can't argue with that math. Welcome home, Sally sign misses the opportunity to include too bad we couldn't welcome your spleen home as well on it.
Someone in there. No, that's not it. That's the base.
Why would Watkins mistaking the basement door for the bathroom door cause this CIA goon to feel the need to pull his gun out and head down there? Wouldn't they have already checked the house out thoroughly? Did this guy read the script and know he needed to give Watkins the opportunity to shoot him in the back?
What, forget to pay your bill, Cat?
Because people not having enough money to pay their bills is funny.
If the storm had knocked out the lights, they'd be out in the boathouse, too.
Man, this storm sure was a great cover for Watkins and company to take out the power, wasn't it? What was the plan if there wasn't a storm?
Quite a storm.
Okay, Jack is a great analyst, but how the f*** did he figure out that Watkins was the traitor? It's not a crime to use the bathroom, even in England. So why are Sean and Cruz suddenly coming in loud and proud? They stealthily took out all the guards and had the cover of the storm, so why are they storming in? It certainly shouldn't be because they know Jack is onto them because they just shouldn't f***ing know that.
Sean, cool it. It's the royal we want. We can't ransom a dead body.
If the end goal was always to kidnap Lord Holmes and ransom him off, then the convenience of him attending a get-together at Jack Ryan's house so Sean can have his cake and eat it too is the most convenient shit to convenience since Biff Tannen found the Gray Sports Almanac. Also, you 100% can ransom a dead body. It's called pulling a weekend at Bernie's.
How are you gonna get away, huh?
And of course, Watkins will know how they are going to get away, but it's f***ing stupid as hell that O'Donnell and Sean told Watkins how they were going to get away because of shit like this possibly happening. These bad guys make Bill Pullman and Ruthless People look like a genius.
You killed him!
Yeah, it's almost like it was a bad idea to bring Sean along to Jack Ryan's house. Who'd have thought he'd make things personal and f*** up the mission? Weird.
Stay down, everyone.
Why does it appear that Lord Fancy Talk is giving out orders? Robbie is a serving officer with combat experience, and this is his turf. So shouldn't he be in the lead here? Goddamn Brit's still trying to rule us in the year of our Lord 1992. Also, Jack leads the bad guys away while everyone else hides. But why didn't they just take both fucking boats? Or at least take one and sabotage the other, right? Also, are we seriously saying the bad guys left the fucking keys in the boat? Wow, it actually takes a very specific set of conditions for a stray bullet to ignite gasoline. Conditions that are further complicated by torrential downpours of H2O. So while not impossible, I'm sinning this for being about as likely as a character played by Sean Bean surviving a movie. Not one of these bullets hits Jack, or he survives this boat catching on fire. Take your pick. I choose both. Also, I guess the movie thought we'd give it a pass on being a poorly paced snooze fest if it ended with a very James Bond-style finale boat chase. Movie is incorrect. Chekhov's anchor appears to have caught the camera operator's attention and has thereby doomed Sean to certain death. This scene does not contain Harrison Ford saying, "Get off my boat."
Is it gonna be okay?
It's gonna be fine, honey. We're just waiting to find out.
Hey Jack, say what you just said again. Think about it, and then tell me if it still makes sense. This could well be the most progressive family in America, but I still don't believe this baby name list from 1992 would consider Jennifer, Sarah, Elise, or Allison as boy names, or Michael, Peter, Jason, Samuel, and Jackson as girl names. Why deliberately focus on the list if you're not going to conform it to outdated gender expectations? Also, you got Samuel and Jackson as possible baby names, but don't you think a more fitting tribute to the great SLJ would have been to give him a proper fucking role in the movie? Also, how the fuck is Dennis still on the list? Hey kid, how'd you get your name? Oh, I was named after a guy who ran this rare bookstore that a bunch of terrorists used to free some other guy who then tried to assassinate my family. My sister lost her spleen and everything.
Okay, tell us. Thank you.
The cinema history books record that in 1992, the collective gasps of movie lovers around the nation could be heard by absolutely not a fucking soul, because this is possibly the weirdest way you could choose to end this movie. Was it supposed to be a cliffhanger? Did someone seriously think we were so invested in the gender of this child that we'd hurry back in 1994 to get an answer? How do you watch this and not leave the theater thinking that was the sum of all bullshit?
I just felt my spleen slip out of what was my anus.
I'm Alpha.
Hello. What's all this then?
Mr. Ryan Hastings? Good Lord.
There's a difference, you know, between not liking one's brother and not caring when some dumb Irish flatfoot drops him out of a window.
Oh, please, James, spare me the Freud. I might as well ask you if all the vodka martinis ever silenced the screams of all the men you've killed.
Who wanted the chicken? Cross the road? Take it from the left to the right! Razzle dazzle!
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the... anyone?
Who is more wicked? He who kills evil motherfuckers, or he who protects them?
So, you just waded on in like John Wayne.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
The IRA is not responsible for all this, I know that.
What happened down in the dungeons between you and Professor Quirrell is a complete secret. So, naturally, the whole school knows.
Kevin!
Kevin!
Come on, get off my plane.